Text this morning. Frisco text in, circling back to our first segment, talking about, making wise decisions in Hinds County or really anywhere. If you're going to use your gun to defend yourself, you need to be very, very situationally aware and not mixing guns and alcohol. I can just think of a million reasons why this went bad. But anyway, I just made the point. I said, this is why I moved out of Hinds County, because I don't want to constantly find myself in that situation. And he just made the point, and he says, but then you have to go back into Hinds County to eat, shop, work, etc. You are still subject to that judicial system if that happens. And I was like, and that's why I'm there as minimally as possible at the end of the day. I do as little in Hinds County as possible. There's a couple of businesses I like to support. I'm not doing a lot of drinking when I'm at those. And I'm just not leaving myself susceptible to any of the nonsense in Hinds County. It's just not. It's just too lawless, even in the good parts. Even in the good parts, you still got the Hinds County judicial system you have to worry about. But, maybe, and look, when Jody gets indicted allegedly, and the new person gets appointed, hopefully they won't be funded by George Soros. That would be my hope. That whether it's Gwen, they just got a big win down there, or somebody from the outside, if they get appointed to be the new DA, I would love to see them say no to that George Soros money. And, actually be pro locking criminals up. That ain't just white folks that wrong black folks. Because those have been the big wins down there the last month or so. You got the Beth Ann White, which, and all of them deserve to go to jail. I'm not making that point, but I just have a hard time with this crew down there at the DA's office right now, just based on what they did to Anthony Fox. I can't accept any of their victories thinking about the witch hunt and the wrong they did by Anthony Fox. Like every time I think oh man, that's a good win for them. Good job. I'm like, yeah, but what they do to Anthony Fox. If they can do that to Anthony Fox, they'll do it to anybody they get the opportunity to. That's why, as much as I hate the FBI and the feds, after what they did to Donald Trump and to January 6ers and to conservatives for the last 20 years, I am pulling for the FBI to not screw this one up. Looking forward to seeing what those indictments hold. Because we've got a chance, albeit a small one, you've got a chance to make some historical changes in Jackson. You potentially could have a mayor down with federal indictment, 2 to 3 city council members knocked out with a federal indictment, the DA, and one of the main minority set-aside contractors. If you believe everything that you hear, which I'm prone to. I'm prone to believe it. Because when was the last time any of it was wrong? I can't wait. Can't wait. The state needs to call it Tate Reeves. If anybody in Tate's office is listening right now, needs to call a special session, tweak the law, change the law, create a new law, whatever you got to do. So Jackson can be put in a conservatorship while there really ain't nobody to fight it, while they're going to be too busy fighting for their freedom. It's the perfect time to swoop in and put the city under a conservatorship. Place a city manager over the same for like 10 years, like a Ted Hennepin type. Get this thing back right. They can't do anything. Surely you got to live here and say to yourself, these fools can't do nothing. Couldn't collect the water bills. Couldn't keep the water on. Couldn't properly staff the facility. Couldn't keep the garbage picked up because they had to figure out who was going to get the most on the side, allegedly. Can't keep the bodies off the streets. Can't keep the red lights working. I could go on and on and on. Can't even collect rent from Smithwell Stadium. It's time for the state to take over Jackson. And while they're at it, take over the school district too, if anybody still wants that disaster. These fools have messed up everything. Everything. Let me talk to the men out there listening real quick. Guys, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction, fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, sleep disturbances? Hey, low libido, ask your girlfriend or wife. She'll let you know if you're suffering from that or not. That's sex drive. If you'll text my name, Clay, in all caps to 601-327-8550, 601-327-8550, Men's Health of Mississippi and the Clay Edwards Show are going to hook you up with a free testosterone screening. They're located in Madison, Mississippi at 120 Fountains Boulevard. You can check them out online, menshealthms.com. But one more time, text my name, all caps, Clay, to 601-327-8550 and get your free testosterone screening scheduled today. Enjoy the rest of this show. Things around here. Spartacus says, I just said last year that Jackson needs a city manager. I just think that that's the plan that makes the most sense. It shouldn't be political. It doesn't have to be a left versus right, a white versus black, a Republican state leaders who continuously have to step in to save Jackson from the dumb Democrats. It shouldn't have to be that. It should just be, hey, here's a common sense thing here. You guys have destroyed this thing and can't pay your bills, can't figure out how to get people that owe you money to pay you, can't do anything. You've destroyed everything you've touched. You have not done a single thing that's a net positive from a governmental standpoint. The only positives that have happened to Jackson were 100% done by private business owners. That's it. That's it. Private business owners. Oh, the state stepping in to fix the water, of course. Tate Reeves had to save Jackson. Capitol Police had to save Jackson. But I'm referring to projects. It's time for a city manager to be appointed. I think it should be Kingfish. I think Kingfish should be the new city manager. No, all kidding aside. Well, he would make a good city manager. He is a smart guy. They need a city manager. They need to flip the forms of government from strong mayor, weak council to strong council, weak mayor. Have a city manager. Put it in a conservatorship for about 10 years. They can still have their mayors and all that stuff. And, the mayors can still do what they do. But you're going to eliminate the corruption, the set-aside, hustle, all that nonsense. You need to rid the city of the Rukia and Chokwe Lumumbas of the world and just let them know that Jackson is done with that. I saw somebody comment on Kingfish's post the other day about about all this type stuff, and they were like, you're all idiots if you don't think that this is exactly what the voter of Jackson wants. He's overwhelmingly popular with Jackson voters. And that's a bit of a myth. I don't know that he's overwhelmingly popular with Jacksonians, but the 13,000 people that vote, he's very popular with that bunch for whatever reason or another. Let's take a call on the Mazda Jackson phone line this morning. Good morning. You're on there.
Hey, Clay. Good morning. It's Scott.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, I'm with you. I don't know the details or the ins and outs of the city manager, but it seems like it's getting closer and closer to that point if it's not already there. I just keep saying,
I just think as a capital city, you've got to do something. Should they step in to save? I'm just going to pick a random city here. If it was falling apart, should they step in to save Ridgeland if it was collapsing? No, they shouldn't, or any other. But they're not the capital city.
Yeah, exactly. You could probably pick, half a dozen towns up in the Delta and say, well, so that means they need to take over those too. But they're not the capital city. So, it's apples and oranges. You're right. But I was just going to say, with all this urban flight and with the shrinkage of the capital city from what used to be at one point pushing 250,000 people, is now below 180,000. if it's not there, it's getting close. I mean, that's just when you have that much withdrawal. Who do you think's leaving the city? I mean, it's not, it's not the poor people. It's not the ones who can't afford to leave. It's some of the best and the brightest. You just don't have the mental capital available in Jackson because anybody in these elected positions, Clay, they have to be citizens. That's one of the things. You can't be mayor if you don't live in Jackson, right? You got to have a residence.
Technically,
you got to live there.
Technically,
so. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just laughing. I said technically, if you believe the mayor really lives here.
Well, yeah. If you believe he lives there, but the thing is, I mean, look at what's been happening to Trump on the larger scale. The exact same thing would happen to anyone living, in that neighborhood around Jackson Country Club or anything like that. If you actually had successful, wealthy people who were competent because they run a business, so they could run a city, run an administration, those are the people that you need to actually step up and say, okay, I'll throw my hat in the ring and I'll run for mayor, I'll run for city council. But why would you? If you're them, why do you need that kind of hassle? The qualified people don't dare do it because it's just not worth it. Why would they do it? Why would they do it at all? There's no incentive. As a matter of fact, every incentive is to sit down and shut up and just run your business and make your money and just let Jackson fall apart and take care of your street and your neighborhood with your neighbors. And that's what they've been doing. And they're doing a good job because some of those neighborhoods look great and they're in great shape, which means, somebody in Jackson knows how to do it. But why would you run for office?
Oh, it's question. Especially black women. They get dragged, unlike any demographic I've seen when they decide to run for office in Jackson. It's by black people. By other black people drag them. But I mean, they get every sexual escapade they've ever been a part of gets pulled out. I mean, I've never seen nastier politics than black on black politics. It is, it is something else.
If you're bringing up the wrong ideas, if you're running against the wrong person, absolutely. You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
It is rough, man.
I don't know why anybody would want to. The only people who would want to do it are people who, frankly, are not qualified to do the work.
Well, think about it. On one side, you have people like me, who, if you're one of the free the land persuasion, we're gonna drag you to no end constantly because you're an idiot. If you're on a side where we actually think you can get anything done, they're going to call you an Uncle Tom and a racist and all this other stuff nonstop. There is no in between anymore, unfortunately, and it's keeping a lot of smart people on the sidelines. Now we've actually got a couple smart people running, a couple of people who I think are strong-willed and got a backbone and can run this city that are throwing their hat in for mayor. I'm just afraid that the city is so full of idiots that they won't accept these strong men who are willing to take on this job because they ain't black enough or whatever this modern version of black urban culture is. This Joe Biden black, this you ain't black if you don't vote for me culture. I don't think that these guys are quote unquote by this modern definition dumb enough to win depending on these idiots in Jackson to vote for them.
Yeah, and you're talking about at a local level, the administrative state that Trump had to deal with in his first term. You're talking about these deeply entrenched people in these unelected positions who, when a conservative or a legit competent mayor says, okay, here's how we're doing things, when the rubber meets the road, they close the door and go, okay, yeah, I got that memo. Now I'm going to do what I want.
Well, that
you
too.
Sort through all those different people because there's hundreds of them. And how do you get anything done, get anything accomplished when the minions just simply won't cooperate?
Yeah, I was
and
actually
we'll
just referring.
Obstruct the whole time.
I was referring to just a low information voter, but you make a great point as well.
Well, those voters work for the city of Jackson.
Yeah. Well, they are the city and the state are the largest employers in the city, right? And hospitals.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Speaking of which, my question real quick, I just wanted to see if you knew anything about it. I'd heard that Capitol Police were considering and had the funds to give a significant raise, but were talked out of it because they were told, if you can't do that, because these other departments around, whether it's Pearl, Brandon, Madison, or JPD, or some county sheriff's departments, they can't match it or come close, and you'll gut all those departments. And so for the sake of these other departments in the area, they said, well, I guess we can't do that. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, I mean, that's definitely been a conversation, but I don't think it stopped them from doing it. What has happened is the other departments in the surrounding areas are having to step up and pay their guys. That's the conversation I've had with folks. Now, there may have been some additional money on the table. I don't want to speak solely on it. I have not heard that, Scott. The conversation I've heard was everything you said, except the Capitol Police did get their money. The Highway Patrol are getting their money. So people, but they've only got so many positions. I mean, and that's the other part of the conversation is, okay, well, we're going to be as competitive as we can with Capitol Police, but at the end of the day, they can only hire so many people. And there's also only so many people who really want to go work in Jackson.
That is true. But like you said, I mean, they're still a large employer for law enforcement. So,
I know Pearl's raising their money up. I believe Brandon's having to raise their. I mean, every now and then the market changes, and you got to figure out a way to make it work. I think somebody said in Brandon to be able to match, they're going to have to close down a fire department or something. I don't know if all that's true or not or whatever, but if it's just posturing. But I mean, I love our firemen, but I love our police. I don't know, man. I love firemen when my house is on fire, but I think police are something that get used I don't want to offend none of our firemen listeners out there. I don't know if I gotta absolutely 100% pick one or the other. I mean, maybe a couple extra cops. I don't know. Where's the happy medium here? And that's what they got to find is the happy medium because they're both very, very important. You shouldn't have to take away from one.
It's very dependent upon the rating of your fire department and how close you are to, the nearest fire station and things like that.
I think
so. Especially us being in Mississippi, being more rural, in a lot of places, it's going to make a difference. It's going to affect your homeowner's insurance.
I think,
without a doubt.
I think I'm defunding the Chamber of Commerce and some other things before I defund a fire station to fund more police. I don't know. You're gonna have to figure it out, as they say. All right, brother. Great call as always. Good talking to you, Scott.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'm walking that one back a little bit there. I don't know. That's a tough call. That's why I'm glad I'm not mayor. Because do you shut down a fire department to be competitive with cops' pay? You got to figure it out. A lot of cities are going to be made. A lot of municipalities are going to have to decide. Like we talk about with Jackson a lot. You don't get to talk about fun things right now. You don't get to talk about convention centers and amphitheaters and concerts and Top Golfs and all this other stuff. No. You've got some basic core necessities you got to work on and get situated before we get to talk about fun things again. Getting police paid and getting cities properly staffed with enough police is the number one priority right now, I believe. That should be above everything else on the docket. Because if money feels safe, it will come to where you are. If the money don't feel safe, it's not coming to where you are. Look at Jackson, outside of Fondren and Belhaven. Money don't feel safe there. We'll be right back.